What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Cosmic Wonder. Today we have a lot of new information about Superman. We've been hearing a lot about the Superman test screenings, and today we have a full account, a full test screening report that we're going to go over that lists a lot of details about the film. However, not too many spoilers in this, not big ones at least. So if you're worried about spoilers, you don't really have to worry. And there was also some merch for Superman that released that is very, very interesting and could give us some key plot details about the film, including Metropolis possibly knowing that Superman was raised on Earth. And with this merch, it actually looks like the Daily Planet has a quote from Superman himself. Perhaps Clark gave it to Lois? Who knows, but there's a lot to talk about today. The most detailed full test screening report we've gotten so far, and this was posted to the DCU Leaks community on Reddit, so shout out to them, and hopefully next week at CinemaCon, DC will actually reveal a lot more about the movie, including possibly giving us that first full trailer, not just the teaser, but the full trailer. Some people believe that it is coming next week. I don't think there's any confirmation at this point in time, but CinemaCon is looking good for a lot of Superman info, so stay tuned for that. So here's the full test screening report for Superman, and it's important to note that they say the source isn't exactly what they refer to as a DC file, and they state that they're not the biggest DC or Marvel buff, so this is coming from kind of a casual fan, but hopefully it gives a lot of people some more hope, which I think is a fitting word for this movie, but more hope that this movie is indeed going to be really good. At least I hope. So it reads, the film wasn't a comedy, but did have funny moments in it. So this has kind of been a big topic lately. It was let out that somebody who saw one of the test screenings said that this movie was a comedy. Now this first came out in December when we believe they did their very first test screenings. But since then, there have been other screenings and people have said it seems like they have dialed back on the comedy. So this is another clarification from somebody who has seen it, stating that the movie itself is not a comedy, but it does have those funny moments. And this makes sense considering what James Gunn has done with all of the Guardians of the Galaxy films. Those are serious action movies, and all of them actually have some tear-producing moments in them, I'll say, but they do have a lot of comedy in them as well. So we know that James Gunn is good at mixing everything. The next thing that it says is characters aren't who people think they are. Now, I'm assuming this isn't really about Superman or Lois Lane or Lex Luthor. It could be about the Ultraman theories, and it also could be about some of the side characters that we're going to get, like Guy Gardner and Hawkgirl. We know that they're going to be in the film, but we don't really know their involvement. So perhaps the internet is kind of off in our thinking for what we think these characters' roles are going to play in the movie, because the next thing it says is online speculation is dead wrong. This seems to imply that we don't know everything about the movie, primarily around the main plot. And the next thing it even says is most of the trailer scenes are from early in the film. So it seems like when they say online speculation is dead wrong, they're most likely referring to the fact that a lot of theories out there are either just about the beginning of the movie, and a lot of people think that's what the whole movie is, and or some of our theories are wrong, which of course that always happens. Now they could be talking about speculation of this movie being bad. I've seen a fair share of that, and if that's the case, I'm glad it's wrong because I hope this movie is great. It says crypto plays an important role, but it felt a little tacked in. That part felt artificial. Now, unfortunately, we don't know what that part is. They could be referring to when Krypto takes Superman home. We've seen that part in the trailer, and that's really the only Krypto scene we know about right now. And clearly, he's going to play a very important role in the movie. This even says so. It's also kind of hard to tell what a person means when they say tacked in, because this could mean different things to different people. Also, scenes and plot devices hit people different ways as well. So take this however you want to personally take it. It continues and says, there is no after credits scene, at least not what they were shown. One could be there, but they can't confirm. Now, I will say this doesn't necessarily mean that there aren't any post-credit scenes. We've seen this happen in the past. Accurate reports about test screenings that were proved when the movie came out originally reported that there were no post-credit scenes, but then there ended up being post-credit scenes. So just because the test screening didn't show a post-credit scene, that doesn't mean that there won't be one after the actual movie comes out in theaters. When studios do these test screenings, they're just focused on the movie. They want to know what people like, what they don't like. They're basically trying to get info so they can make the movie better. And that typically does not involve a post-credit scene. So don't fret about that. There still could be a post-credit. The next thing it says is, while Rick Flag Sr. is in the film, and he plays a rather short role, there were no nods to Creature Commandos, that they're sort source noted. However, they do say that there was a nod to Amanda Waller, though it wasn't an audience wink, it was more of a it's a blink and you'll miss it type of moment. So when the movie comes out, pay close attention to that. The source's impressions were that this film is a good movie from a person who doesn't follow the DC films. They're not a comic book buff, but they did enjoy it. And that's just great to hear. And I think it could be a lot better than this person actually realizes. And we'll get into that in just a bit, but it has to do with how the movie looks, which we're about to get into. It then says the secondary plot of the film focused primarily on Lewis and Clark. Brosnahan stole every scene she was in. And this lines up with what other people who have seen the test screening have reported as well. She's amazing. Nicholas Hoult was good as Lex Luthor, but he overacts a bit. He does anger very well, but he was a bit much in other scenes. This kind of contradicts a little bit from what we've heard. We've heard that Lex is great. Nicholas Hoult does a great job. Again, this could just be kind of a personal preference on how you view acting type of thing. But sticking with Lex, the report says his two goons were delightful and worked well with Lex's energy. They felt that they helped, but weren't absolutely necessary. Well, necessary or not, if they do add to the movie and this person felt that they were delightful, then that's a good addition. They then state some of the effects don't work super well, though they don't know if it was an early cut. The scenes of the Ice Palace were a little rough, they said. Some of the effects with the big monster, who we are assuming is the kaiju, were rough, and the source said that they thought their face looked a little goofy. Now, I will say, typically studios work on the visual effects pretty much all the way up until the movie releases. That does happen quite often, so I don't think they're seeing, obviously, the full final version of the film, so the fact that some stuff looked a little rough, some scenes, some CGI, I'm not too worried about that because I'm assuming that they're just going to work on improving that until the film comes out. And then the last thing it says is it had a lot of characters, but it didn't feel like they took away from the main plot. This is the first movie of the new DCU, and it really seems like James Gunn is just going to, right out the bat, establish that Superman is a part of a huge universe. And we've heard that we can expect some pretty cool cameos in this movie. And that's most likely due to the fact that James Gunn wants to make this all feel super connected, which I actually think is a really great move. And apparently he does it in a way that doesn't take away from the main plot of Superman, Lois Lane, and Lex Luthor, so that's fantastic. Now, like I mentioned, we do have some official merch for the Superman movie. This is coming from a big Canadian website, Carter's/Oshkosh Bagosh, which is for kids, and they show us a Superman t-shirt. On it is basically a headline from the Daily Planet. Of course, this is the newspaper that Clark Kent, Superman himself, and Lois Lane work at. On it, you can obviously see it's about Superman. It's got Superman in huge letters, a nice picture of Superman and his logo there. But notice what it says at the top, right under where it says the Daily Planet, it says Kryptonian heritage, human upbringing. This implies that they know Superman is one, from another planet, and two, raised by actual humans. And if you look at the very bottom here, it seems to be a quote from Superman himself, and some people might recognize this. It says, "This can be a great planet, but making it great starts with each of us. It's about what you do. It's about action." So to me, the first thing I think about is that obviously Lois and Clark/Superman are together. She knows, and he gives her something to write about. He gives her a big piece, or he gives himself a big piece. That could be possible. It doesn't say who wrote that on here. But obviously Superman just doesn't go around telling people about his life, and Clark Kent doesn't do that either. But of course, Lois knows. So I'm thinking that he gave her permission to do this, or he simply wrote this himself to try to help himself out in his job. But this is supposed to be official merch, so if this is a reflection of what's going to happen in the movie, people are going to know he's from another planet but was raised by humans on Earth, which might mean that some people realize that he has an alter ego and he might just walk around as a normal person blending in with society. Again, according to this full test screening report that we got, we don't really know much about the film, and what they showed us is only from the beginning, which I think is great. But overall, I think this is great news for the Superman movie. I think these are really positive things. Again, with the CGI and stuff like that, I don't think it's fully complete yet. I wouldn't let that worry you too much. But go ahead, let me know what you think about this in the comments down below. And if you want to stay up to date with Superman and DC news, and of course Marvel news, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the latest videos. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.